Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Ishmael is recognized as one of the prominent patriarchs of the Arab tribes, possibly the most renowned among them. Many are interested in his life, as well as the lives of his 12 sons and daughter. There is a growing curiosity about the destiny of these tribes and their contemporary identities. Faced with these questions, also motivated by the comments received on this channel, I decided to bring this video to share information with all of you. After all, where are the descendants of Ishmael? How have they integrated with other Arab tribes? This video will answer all these questions and reveal the whereabouts of the Ishmaelites in the present day. Where are and who are the descendants of Ishmael exactly today? Ishmael, the firstborn of Abraham, is considered the common patriarch of the 12 Arab tribes, as reported in the book of Genesis. He was born to Abraham's concubine, Hagar, and lived to be 137 years old, as recorded in Genesis 25 verse 17. The name Ishmael has roots in Aramaic and Hebrew Semitic etymology, essentially meaning, God hears, or God listens. This theophoric name is common in various ancient Semitic cultures, including ancient Babylon. The oldest form of the name Ishmael is found in Akkadian, where it is pronounced as Ishmaelu. In other Semitic languages such as Phoenician and ancient Aramaic, it is pronounced as Yishmael. Ishmael's genealogy shows his descent both through his paternal and maternal lines. On the paternal side, he is a typical Semite, descending from Shem, through Arphaxad, Sulla, Eber, Peleg, Ru, Serug, Nahor, and Terah, before Abraham. Through the maternal line, as the son of Hagar, who was from Egypt, or Kemet, he is half Semitic and half Mizraite, descending from Ham. Hagar belonged to the lineage of Mizraim, from the ancient Egyptians, descendants of Ham, according to some rabbinic commentators of Genesis Midrash Rabbah. Genesis Midrash Rabbah is a collection of rabbinic teachings that explore and interpret the book of Genesis, the first book of the Hebrew Bible. This midrash is one of the most important works of rabbinic midrash, which is a form of Jewish interpretation seeking to understand sacred texts beyond their literal meaning. Genesis Rabbah consists of a series of homilies, stories, and reflections on the early chapters of the book of Genesis. It addresses a variety of themes, including the creation of the world, biblical patriarchs such as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and other important figures such as Adam and Eve, Noah, and Joseph. Genesis Midrash Rabbah was compiled in the land of Israel between the 5th and 6th centuries AD. It is a highly influential work in Rabbinic Judaism and has been studied and commented upon over the centuries. It reflects the theological, ethical, and philosophical concerns of the rabbis of the time and offers a unique insight into Jewish sacred texts. The term Rabbah, in its title means, great, in Hebrew, indicating the importance and scope of this midrash within the Jewish tradition. It is often studied by Jewish scholars and students seeking a deeper understanding of the narratives and themes present in the book of Genesis, as well as a richer connection to rabbinic tradition and wisdom. They mention that, according to the Midrash, Hagar, Ishmael's mother, was considered a princess because she was the Pharaoh's daughter, before being handed over as a servant to the house of Abraham and Sarah. Many Arabs recognized their Ishmaelite roots. Even though they were predominantly pagan and idolaters for the most part, they still knew their past origins through Semitic oral traditions. Stories about Ishmael and his father Abraham were transmitted. Pre-Islamic poems, such as those by Umair ibn Abi al-Salt, mentioned Ishmael and Abraham, including a sacrificial narrative. Some may argue that Arabs were unaware of Abraham and Ishmael due to paganism, seeking to discredit biblical narratives. However, not only Umair ibn Abi al-Salt, but also Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, a pre-Islamic figure, rejected idolatry and preached monotheism, stating that this was the original belief of his Arab father, Ishmael. This is in harmony with the tradition mentioning Ishmael's prayer and the appearance of the angel in the desert, indicating that Ishmael followed the same faith as his father, Abraham. Furthermore, certain tribes from the central western region of Arabia self-identified as descendants of Abraham and Ishmael, as evidenced by common openings in speeches and reconciliations between rival tribes of that time. Speaking of the Ishmaelite tribes, according to the book of Genesis, they were collectively known as Ishmaelites. In Arabic, they were called Ismailiyun, in Hebrew Yishmaelim, and in Aramaic Yishmaeliah. The historian Flavius Josephus states that Ishmael had 12 sons, Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. They inhabited the entire region from the Euphrates in Iraq to the Red Sea, and their kingdom was called Nabatean. A Targum explains that, according to Genesis 25 verse 18, the sons of Ishmael inhabited from Havilah to Shur, opposite Egypt. There is historical evidence from other peoples, in records and inscriptions, regarding the Ishmaelites in relation to the people of Israel. Yes, there are Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, and other royal inscriptions, as well as inscriptions in northern Arabia dating from the 9th and 7th centuries BC, which mention the king of Kedar as the king of the Arabs and the Ishmaelites. The names of Ishmael's sons, Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Dumah, Massa, and Tema, are frequently mentioned in Assyrian records as tribes of the Ishmaelites themselves. Therefore, we have historical reports, mainly from the Assyrians but also from the Babylonians and Persians, about the existence of these tribes. Furthermore, there are inscriptions in northern Arabia dating back to the 9th century that mention the Ishmaelites and their tribes. The kingdom of Kedar persisted long after the disappearance of the last native Babylonian, King Nabonidus. However, the Nabatean kingdom arose from the Kedarite kingdom about 250 years later, due to geographical and linguistic continuity between the two tribes. Many names of Arab tribes from the time of Muhammad, such as Asad, Maji, and the ancestor of the tribes, Mad Nisar, have been found in inscriptions dating back to 325 BC. The Nabatean kingdom in Petra was widely recognized in antiquity, as mentioned by Josephus, and it is likely that he had contact and conversed with traders from Petra, descendants of the Nabateans, descendants of Nebaioth, Ishmael's son. Scriptures indicate that the Ishmaelite people primarily relied on trade, including spices and even slaves, as seen in the story of Joseph in Egypt, who was sold by his own Ishmaelite brothers. Interestingly, the Ishmaelites were relatives of the Israelites. The descendants of Ishmael inhabited from Assyria to the border with Egypt, that is, from the Gulf of Aqaba to the Sinai Peninsula, where it borders Egypt. The Ishmaelite tribes were nomads in this arid and desert region, wandering from Assyria to Egypt, where they settled and roamed the region as nomads. They lived as nomads, without settling in a specific place, known as the nomadic kings. They traveled from Egypt to Ashur and Assyria, crossing the Gulf region, including the Sinai Peninsula, where the Arab peoples, descendants of Ishmael, originated. Additionally, some Assyrians from the region near Assyria are also pure descendants of Ishmael. However, history does not stop there. The descendants of Ishmael also settled in places like ancient Jordan, especially in the Petra region, where notable assimilation with the Midianites occurred. This assimilation resulted in intermixing between the Ishmaelites and the Midianites, who were considered brothers. This mixture is evident, including in the sacred scriptures, which narrate not only the union between Ishmaelites and Midianites but also marriages between Ishmaelites and ancient Edomites, from the earliest times. The Edomites, one of the tribes, had a connection with the Ishmaelites, as Mahlat, Esau's third wife, was the daughter of Ishmael, also known as Basemath. She was the mother of some of the Edomite tribes, resulting in assimilation between Edomites and Midianites. It is worth noting that the Edomites are descendants of Esau and constitute part of the Arab tribes. Additionally, Midian, son of Keturah, Abraham's second wife, also played a role in this assimilation between Arab peoples. It is important to highlight that the Ishmaelites also inhabited Saudi Arabia itself, especially in the northern region, in contrast to the south, where we find Oman and Yemen. Other Semitic peoples, as mentioned, also occupied these lands. Of course, there are other countries in the Middle East and North Africa with Ishmaelite genetic influence, but the ones mentioned were the main locations where Ishmael dwelled and left his mark. I want to hear your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching the video so far. Don't forget to leave your like to help our channel and continue our studies for you. May God bless and see you soon.